All right, so get this. We're going deep today on a real historical head scratcher.
Oh, laying down the intrigue already.
The whole story of King Tut and that supposed curse that followed him around, or rather, his tomb.
Classic tale that one always gets people hooked.
Right. It's got all the good stuff. Ancient Egypt, hidden tombs, glittering treasures, and then, oh yeah, a whole bunch of people mysteriously dying.
The trifecta of historical mystery for sure.
But yeah, everyone knows King Tut, right? Like, he's practically a celebrity.
Oh, absolutely, household name.
But historically speaking, he wasn't exactly a big deal.
Yeah, kind of a minor pharaoh in the grand scheme of things, short reign, relatively uneventful.
So why is he so famous then? I mean, the guy's got his own exhibit at practically every museum.
Well, it turns out when it comes to posthumous fame, Tutankhamun was a marketing genius.
Okay, I like the Kardashian of ancient Egypt.
You could say that,
Yeah.
but in all seriousness, his fame really boils down to one thing: the incredible discovery of his nearly intact tomb back in 1922.
Ah, yes. Enter Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon, our archaeological dream team, on a quest for glory in the Valley of the Kings.
And what a discovery it was. After years of searching, they stumbled upon a tomb that was practically overflowing with riches.
Talk about hitting the archaeological jackpot. Golden chariots, jewel-encrusted furniture, enough treasures to make a dragon jealous.
Absolutely. It was a sight to behold. And of course, the star of the show, the iconic golden mask of Tutankhamun.
Okay, seriously, that mask is the stuff of legends, pure gold, adorned of all kinds of precious stones. It's like something out of a movie.
More valuable than you can even imagine. Estimated to be worth trillions more than the combined wealth of like the top 2,000 billionaires.
Trillions. We're talking serious bling.
No doubt about it. And it's a big reason why Tutankhamun is the most famous pharaoh today, even though his reign was, well, a little underwhelming.
So we've got a relatively insignificant pharaoh, a tomb packed with more treasure than you can shake a stick at what could possibly go wrong, right?
Ah, but that's where things take a turn for the spooky.
Right. Enter the curse.
Dun dun dun.
Okay, so picture this. Shortly after entering the tomb, Lord Carnarvon, the guy bankrolling this whole expedition, suddenly dies.
Yeah, it was pretty sudden, seemingly harmless mosquito bite led to an infection, and, well, you know, the rest.
But of course, this being the 1920s, everyone was obsessed with the occult, so the timing was perfect for a good old-fashioned curse story.
Oh, absolutely. The media went wild. Headlines were screaming about the curse of King Tut, and suddenly everyone was convinced that anyone who even looked at a picture of the tomb was doomed.
Seriously, it got that bad.
Oh, it did. People were refusing to transport Carnarvon's body back to England for fear of the excavation. Put on hold for 2 years, everyone was terrified.
Wow, talk about a PR nightmare. I mean, can you imagine that happening today? Social media would explode.
It would be utter chaos. But amidst all the hysteria, there were a few voices of reason trying to inject some logic into the situation.
Thank goodness for those folks. Our sources mention one in particular, an American museum curator, who was part of the excavation but remained skeptical of the whole curse thing.
A true skeptic in a sea of believers. What I find fascinating is that he decided to investigate the supposed curse systematically like any good scientist would.
Okay, so let's break it down. What did he actually find? Was there any truth to this curse, or was it all just media hype and overactive imaginations?
Well, his findings were pretty revealing. For starters, it turned out Lord Carnarvon wasn't exactly the picture of health before he went to Egypt. The guy had a history of illness.
So maybe not the curse's fault then.
It seems that way. And get this, out of the 40 people who initially worked on excavating the outer tomb, you know, the part that wasn't even supposed to be cursed, not a single one died prematurely.
Okay, so that kind of pokes a hole in the whole death to all who enter narrative.
Big hole. And it gets even more interesting. The data actually showed that the closer someone was to Tutankhamun's remains, the less likely they were to die young.
Wait, so being near the mummy was actually safer? Now that's a twist.
Right, almost the opposite of a curse. And to top it off, many of the people who supposedly fell victim to the curse never even set foot in the tomb.
Seriously. This is sounding more and more like a case of telephone. Every time the story got passed around, it got a little more dramatic.
Absolutely. Classic case of media sensationalism mixed with a healthy dose of public fear and fascination with the unknown.
And let's not forget, the Egyptian public had their own reasons for wanting to believe in the curse.
Ah, good point. It wasn't just about superstition. They'd seen their cultural heritage looted and exploited for centuries.
So maybe the curse was a way to protect their history, to scare off anyone thinking about messing with their ancestors.
Exactly. A way to say, hey, back off. This is sacred ground.
So the curse of King Tut More like a cautionary tale amplified by the media and a society hungry for a good mystery.
That's a great way to put it. And it really makes you think about how we perceive history and how easily narratives can be shaped and reshaped over time.
Truth is often stranger than fiction, as they say.
Couldn't agree more.
But let's not forget about the man himself, King Tut. Our sources go into some fascinating details about his life and what led up to his rather early demise.
Yes, the boy king. There's more to his story than just golden curses.
Okay, you've got my attention. Lay it on me. Was it all sunshine and roses for this young pharaoh? Or was there more to the story?
Well, let's just say that Tutankhamun's life was far from a fairy tale. In fact, it was pretty tragic.
All right, I'm ready for the drama. Hit me with the details.
Buckle up, because Tutankhamun's story takes some pretty unexpected turns, starting with the fact that he inherited the throne at the ripe old age of 9.
9 years old. Talk about pressure. I could barely tie my shoes at that age, let alone rule a kingdom.
Right. And sadly, his reign was cut short. He died at just 19.
Wow, that's young even for ancient Egyptian royalty. So what happened? Was it the curse catching up to him after all?
Well, recent research, including some really interesting DNA analysis, has revealed some surprising things about Tutankhamun's health. Turns out he had a whole bunch of health problems even beyond that bum leg.
Oh, this is where it gets interesting. What did they find out?
Well, for starters, it seems he was born with several genetic abnormalities, likely due to the fact that his parents were closely related.
Ah, yes, the perils of royal inbreeding. It rarely ends well, does it?
Nope. And on top of that, he suffered from malaria and a pretty debilitating bone disease.
So this poor kid was dealing with some serious health issues from day one. I guess even being a pharaoh doesn't make you immune to life's challenges?
Definitely not. And his death may have been even more dramatic than we thought. There's evidence of a severe leg injury, possibly from a fall or even a chariot accident.
A chariot accident.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's a visual. Was he racing Ben-Hur style or what?
Well, that would make for a great movie. The evidence doesn't quite point to a chariot race, but it definitely seems like there was some kind of accident.
So maybe not an assassination plot then? A little less intrigue, but hey, at least we're getting closer to the truth.
And that's what matters, right? Getting to the bottom of things, separating fact from fiction, and sometimes the truth is more surprising than any curse.
I'll say. So we've got a pharaoh with a rough childhood, health problems galore, and a mysterious death. But what about his tomb? That's what really made him famous after all.
Ah, yes, the tomb. That's where things get even more interesting. You see, Carter's team noticed something unusual about the layout of Tutankhamun's tomb. It was different from the typical design found in other pharaohs' tombs in the Valley of the Kings.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What was so different about it? Was he just trying to be unique, even in death?
Well, there are a few possible explanations. Some historians believe that the unusual layout could indicate that the tomb was initially intended for someone else, and that Tutankhamun was kind of a last-minute addition.
Wait, so he might have inherited someone else's tomb? Talk about convenient.
It's a possibility, and it might explain why the tomb is so lavish for a pharaoh who had such a short reign.
Right, it's like moving into a fully furnished mansion that's way too big for you. Lucky break for Tut.
You could say that.
Yeah.
But there's another even more intriguing theory that our source mentions. One that ties into the religious turmoil that surrounded Tutankhamun's reign.
Oh, you're talking about his father's whole sun god obsession, the religious revolution that never quite took off.
Exactly. Now, some scholars believe that this religious upheaval might be reflected in the design of Tutankhamun's tomb.
Okay, I'm listening. But how does a change in religious beliefs translate into architectural choices? Did they switch contractors midway through construction or something?
Well, you have to remember that for the ancient Egyptians, the tomb wasn't just a burial place. It was a gateway to the afterlife, a meticulously designed space to guide the pharaoh on their journey to the realm of the gods.
So it wasn't just about looking fancy. It was about ensuring a smooth transition to the afterlife, like a cosmic travel brochure, but in architectural form.
Precisely. And when Akhenaten, Tutankhamun's father, introduced his new sun god, Aten, he also introduced a whole new set of beliefs and rituals related to the afterlife.
So if he had succeeded in converting everyone to this new religion, the whole afterlife aesthetic would have been completely different.
That's the idea. And even though Tutankhamun ultimately reverted back to the old gods, some scholars think that some elements of his father's religious reforms might have snuck into the design of his tomb.
So we could be seeing a mashup of traditional and newer inspired elements in the layout. That's fascinating. It's like a physical manifestation of the religious tug-of-war that defined his reign.
Exactly. And this might explain why his tomb seems so unique compared to other pharaohs.
So instead of just inheriting an oversized tomb, Tutankhamun's final resting place could actually be a snapshot of this really pivotal moment in Egyptian history, a time of religious transition frozen in time and stone.
It's a compelling theory, isn't it? It shows that archaeology isn't just about digging up old things, it's about understanding the stories, the beliefs, and the cultural shifts that shaped ancient civilizations.
It's like we're not just exploring a tomb, we're exploring a whole chapter of Egyptian history.
And, this brings us back to one of the most captivating aspects of this whole deep dive, the power of stories.
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, we started by trying to debunk this supposed curse. But along the way, we've uncovered so much more about ancient beliefs, royal life, and even how we view history itself. And all of this is woven together by the stories we tell and the stories we choose to believe.
It's true. The curse itself, even though it turned out to be a bit of a dud, has been our guide on this journey of discovery.
And that, I think, is the real magic of history. It's not just about dates and names. It's about immersing ourselves in the narratives, the human dramas, the triumphs and tragedies that shaped the world we live in today.
Beautifully said. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of this incredible story. Is there even more to uncover?
Oh, there's always more to uncover. And in our next segment, we're going to dive into something truly extraordinary, the scientific advancements that have allowed us to literally peer into the past and learn more about Tutankhamun than ever before.
Hold on, are we talking about unwrapping the mummy? Because I'm not sure I'm ready for that visual.
Not exactly unwrapping, but something even more remarkable. Think virtual autopsies, DNA analysis, and the incredible insights we've gained from these cutting-edge technologies.
Okay, now you're really speaking my language. This is where history meets CSI, right?
Precisely. So if you're ready to explore the intersection of science and ancient Egypt, join us for part 2 of our deep dive into the world of King Tut. Welcome back to the deep dive. So last time, we left off with a bit of a cliffhanger. We're about to step into the world of cutting-edge science to see how it's completely revolutionized our understanding of King Tut.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. Virtual autopsies, DNA analysis.
Yeah.
It's like we're about to crack open a historical cold case.
Exactly. For centuries, our knowledge of ancient Egyptians was pretty limited, what we could see with our own eyes, the artifacts, the tombs.
Right, like a really fancy jigsaw puzzle, but with missing pieces.
But in recent decades, science has given us these incredible new tools to peer into the past and learn things we never thought possible. It's like having a time machine for knowledge.
Okay, minus the DeLorean, right?
Exactly. No flux capacitor needed. So one of the most amazing tools in this arsenal is the virtual autopsy.
Okay, break that down for me. Virtual autopsy, is that like a digital dissection?
You got it. It's like taking a mummy to the doctor, but without all the messy unwrapping.
Hold on, wait a minute. You're telling me they can examine a mummy without actually unwrapping it?
That's the beauty of it. They use high-tech imaging techniques like CT scans and 3D modeling to create a detailed digital replica of the mummy.
So they can see everything, the bones, the organs, even tiny details like fractures or signs of illness, all without disturbing the actual remains.
Precisely. It's like having X-ray vision for mummies.
Okay, that is seriously cool.
Yeah.
So what have these virtual autopsies revealed about Tutankhamun? Did they confirm those theories we talked about earlier? His health problems, how he died?
Oh, they definitely spilled the tea. The virtual autopsy backed up a lot of what we suspected. Remember how we talked about those genetic abnormalities and the possibility of a bone disease? Well, the scans confirmed both.
So the boy king was dealing with some serious baggage behind that golden mask, huh? Not just the weight of a kingdom, but actual health issues.
It seems that way. The scans showed a cleft palate, a club foot, and even signs of Kohler disease, a rare bone disorder.
Wow, that's rough. I guess even all the gold in the world can't buy you perfect health.
You got that right. And remember that fractured leg we talked about? Well, the scans confirm that too. A nasty break in his left leg, most likely from a fall or some kind of chariot accident.
So maybe not a chariot race, but definitely a mishap, I guess, that rules out the assassination theory.
For now, but here's the thing. A virtual autopsy can only tell us so much. It shows us the physical evidence, but it can't definitively say, this is exactly how he died.
So there's still a bit of mystery surrounding his death. But it's amazing that we can even get this close to understanding what happened to him over 3,000 years ago.
Absolutely. And virtual autopsies aren't the only game in town. DNA analysis has also been a game changer.
Oh, right. We talked about that earlier. They were able to extract DNA from the mummy itself.
Yep. Incredible, isn't it? And by comparing his DNA to other mummies, they could trace his family tree and confirm some juicy details about his parentage.
Okay, spill the tea. Who were his parents? Were
Yeah.
they as dramatic as those Greek myths I read in college?
Well, the DNA confirmed that his dad was Akhenaten the pharaoh who tried to, let's say, shake up the Egyptian religious scene.
The sun god enthusiast.
That's the one. But his mom, this is where it gets interesting. DNA analysis showed that she was most likely one of Akhenaten's sisters.
Wait a minute, a pharaoh marrying his own sister. Okay, that is some serious family drama. But doesn't that explain why Tutankhamun had so many health problems?
Bingo. Marriages between close relatives were common among Egyptian royalty. They thought it kept the bloodline pure, but it often led to genetic issues.
So we've got a pharaoh with a radical religious agenda, a scandalous marriage, and a son who inherits both a kingdom and a whole bunch of health issues. It's like a real-life soap opera, but with more hieroglyphics.
It definitely adds a new layer of complexity to the story, and it reminds us that even the most powerful people in history dealt with the same human dramas that we see today.
Right. It's a good reminder that despite all the differences in time and culture, we're all connected by this shared human experience.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that makes history so fascinating. It's not just about facts and figures, it's about understanding what it meant to be human in different times and places.
Well said. But I have a feeling there's more to uncover in this particular story. What other secrets are we going to unearth about King Tut? Welcome back to the deep dive. All right, get this, in this final part, we're stepping into the future, or at least the future of experiencing the past. We're talking virtual reality and how it's changing the game when it comes to understanding King Tut.
Yeah, it's really mind-blowing how technology can transport us to different worlds, even ancient ones. It's not just about seeing the past anymore, it's about actually experiencing it.
Okay, so no DeLorean needed, right?
No flux capacitor required. But seriously, VR is opening up a whole new dimension in how we explore history.
So how does this work? Can you really just, like, walk around in King Tut's tomb through VR?
Pretty much. Researchers and developers are using all the data they have from the actual excavation photos, measurements, even scans of the artifacts to create a super detailed virtual replica of the entire tomb complex.
So they've built a digital twin of the tomb. That's insane.
It is, and with a VR headset, you can step right inside and explore every corner. Walk through the chambers, examine the hieroglyphics, get up close to the treasures.
So I can finally get a good look at that golden mask without having to fight off a crowd of tourists. Sign me up.
Exactly. And the level of detail is incredible. You can see brushstrokes on the paintings, the carvings on the sarcophagus, even the texture of the fabrics. It's as close as you can get to being there in 1922.
Okay, you've officially sold me on VR. But is this just a fancy way to entertain history buffs? Or is there a bigger purpose?
Oh, it's way more than just entertainment. VR has some really exciting applications in archaeology and research.
Okay, tell me more. How is VR changing the game for historians?
Well, think about it. Researchers can use these virtual environments to study the tomb in ways that would be impossible in real life. They can move objects around, experiment with lighting, even reconstruct missing or damaged parts to get a better understanding of the original layout.
So it's like they get a second chance to excavate the tomb, but this time with digital superpowers.
Exactly. And it's not just for researchers either. These VR experiences can make history more engaging and accessible for students and the public. Imagine virtually stepping back in time and walking through the tomb with Howard Carter, seeing the treasures as they were first uncovered. It's a whole new way to connect with the past.
That's incredible. It's like turning history into an interactive adventure instead of just reading about it in a textbook. Way more exciting.
For sure. And it's not just limited to Tutankhamun's tomb. Imagine exploring ancient Rome, walking the streets of Pompeii before the eruption of Vesuvius. The possibilities are endless.
Okay, I'm on board with the power of VR. But tell me, does this technology actually change how we understand King Tut specifically? What do our sources say about that?
Actually, there's a really interesting example that our sources highlight. Remember the theory about Tutankhamun's tomb possibly being intended for someone else?
Right, the whole pre-furnished afterlife palace idea.
Well, researchers have been using VR to test that theory. They're building virtual reconstructions of the tomb based on different scenarios. One where it was built for Tutankhamun, and another where it was designed for someone else and then adapted for him.
So they're using VR to run simulations and see which version makes more sense.
Exactly. And what they're finding is pretty cool. The virtual reconstructions are actually supporting the theory that the tomb was originally meant for someone else. There are subtle inconsistencies in the layout and decorations that suggest a change of plans.
So VR is not just helping us experience the past, it's helping us rewrite our understanding of it.
That's the amazing thing about technology. It's giving us new tools to re-examine the evidence and explore different interpretations of history. Who knows what other mysteries we'll be able to solve in the future?
This has been one wild deep dive. We started with a spooky curse, then uncovered royal family drama, explored ancient beliefs, and now we've entered the world of virtual reality. All this from just one Egyptian pharaoh.
It's incredible what you can uncover when you start digging into history.
Right. And the best part is there's always more to learn. So, to wrap up, what's the big takeaway for our listeners? What should they remember about King Tut and the power of history?
I think the most important lesson is that history is not set in stone. It's constantly evolving as we discover new evidence and explore new perspectives. And with technology like virtual reality, we can experience and understand history in ways we never thought possible.
It's not just about memorizing facts. It's about engaging with the past, asking questions, and being open to new possibilities.
Exactly. And who knows what the future holds? Maybe one day we'll be able to time travel to ancient Egypt, not just virtually.
Now, that's something I'd love to see. So to everyone listening out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never lose your sense of wonder. After all, as we've seen with King Tut, the most fascinating stories are often a blend of fact, fiction, and imagination. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.